reaction to what Jerry just had to say?
I mean, it's disappointing. In the last several years, they have been one of the most competitive franchises in the regular season. I've been defensive of them in the postseason and saying, to Jerry's point, oftentimes because it's single elimination, the best thing to do is just keep getting back to the playoffs. You keep getting there, and eventually it works out for you. But it has not worked out for them. So the results are the results, and this team is not good enough this year, and that's the scary part, is they've fallen off a cliff.
Yeah.
Their talent isn't so bad that they should have, 20-point, or trailing by 20 points or more 6 times at home, and I think this year the Saints have scored more touchdowns in that stadium than the Cowboys have through the 5 games that they've had. And so this team is an abomination, and the way that they are structured, the talent that they have, should be much better.
Yeah, falling off a cliff is a little bit of a trigger word for me on this show, but I get what you're saying.
I'm sorry.
Stephen A.
Well, what do you want me to answer, Molly, about the atrocity that is the Dallas Cowboys? I mean, what do you want me to say? I mean, what are you asking me exactly? I need to know what the question is, actually.
I mean, the question was just to react to the sound, but I'll ask you this, Stephen A. What do the Cowboys do now, in all seriousness?
Plan for next season. This is a horror show. I didn't even know the stat that the New Orleans Saints has more touchdowns at AT&T Stadium this season than the Dallas Cowboys. You have any idea how bad that is? I mean, that's just awful. I mean, it's hard to, and if they have it, you know that the Detroit Lions had more touchdowns at AT&T Stadium this year than the Cowboys had this season. So, I mean, it's really, really bad right now, and it's just one of those situations, Dom, where all joking aside, I said, something wrong with Jerry, because I'm listening to these quotes and they make no sense. They're barely lucid and coherent enough to comprehend. I mean, I don't get it. I don't understand what the hell he's talking about when he's saying the things that he is saying. And I even brought up politics a little bit because I remember 9-10 months ago when I was raked through the coals because I was talking about how Joe Biden, I didn't think he was going to make it to the Democratic National Convention. I saw a flagrant slippage, and somebody needed to do something about that in the Democratic Party. And, lo and behold, we all know what ended up happening. And with Jerry Jones, this is football. It's not politics, but somebody, I'm looking at Stephen Jones. I'm looking at family members, children, grandchildren, etc. It's like, do y'all hear him? Are you listening to him? Do you think this makes any sense? You're at these games. You're around him. You're around him. You're around there. And I just don't. It's not even funny anymore. I know I was trolling him last night and stuff like that, but waking up this morning and then listening to what he had to say, it ain't even funny to me. I know it's funny to Shannon. Don't blame him. But I like getting on the Cowboy fans, and I enjoyed their misery. But they've stripped the fun out of this because of how god-awful they have been. I can't believe how bad they are. And to listen to him talk, it makes no sense, y'all. It makes no sense.
Well, I checked earlier, Molly, and there are great prices on tickets to Cabo, Jamaica, and Cancun. That's the only place the Cowboys are going. So go ahead. If you go ahead and book your flight now, that's 6-7 weeks in advance, you'll get a great deal. I promise you.
Oh,
it's over.
Hilarious.
And it's been over. It's not the fact that they're losing, because teams lose. Fox, you know this. You lose by touchdown. You lose by 3. When you get mollywopped every single game at home, you giving up 30-plus points. You giving up 40, 44, 49. And what has happened is that where you need to be really good at in order to compete in this league is the offense and defensive line. Yeah. They're trash on both of them. They're bad. They've gotten old. Zach Martin, is bless his heart, he's out there on one leg seemingly. He just can't do it anymore. Everybody else get beat or they hold every other play. Defensive line, they can't hold up because they're built to play with elite. Yes, sir.
You and Dom, just want to throw out a couple of numbers for y'all I think y'all will find very interesting. First 7 seasons for Jerry Jones with the Dallas Cowboys, 11-2 playoff record, best in the NFL, 3 Super Bowl championships. The last 29 years, 5-13 playoff record, 5th worst in the entire NFL. So, Molly, he was actually closer to being right with that number 6 in terms of wins. No, it's his number of losses. He's 5th in the number of playoff losses. Gotcha. Right? No Super Bowls, no conference titles. He's had more head coaches, 7 head coaches in that span. So over the last 29 years, they haven't won anything. He's had more head coaches than playoff wins, okay? And by the way, they've been one and done in the postseason 8 times since 1996. The only team in the entire NFL who has been worse is the Indianapolis Colts with 10.
Yeah,
What do you think they do? Like,
Yeah,
to move it forward? I'm talking like actual real moves that need to be made.
Yeah, it's not fun to talk about, but Shannon hit on it. They have to, when they've been good, whether it's the 90s or it's the recent history, when they had that really good team that Dak took over, it's always been about the offensive line. You'll get the best out of your players if you have a quality offensive line.
Yeah, I know. I'm a Giants fan. Yeah.
Yes, you're aware of it. So they've been investing in O-line through draft picks, but they haven't hit yet. And Zach Martin is a Hall of Famer, but he's not playing like it right now. And that's the problem. You'll get the best version of your quarterback if you protect him. In their running backs, I think it's also not just offensive line. They need running backs that are additive. These guys are not getting more than is expected of them right now. They're not helping out their offensive line. So I think that's where you start on the offense. The defensive issues, I think, are more about stopping the run. And they do have a team that's designed to rush the passer and create turnovers. It's a hard way to live, particularly when you're not able to score points because you can't run the ball, you can't protect that quarterback. So the way that teams are built, or like the Lions are built, or like the old Cowboys were built, from inside out, you got to get that O-line and D-line secure.
Who had the most disappointing loss? The Ravens, the Bengals, or the Niners?
Well, for me, it was between two choices. It was between the Bengals and the Seahawks, and I took the Seahawks. If that's Michael Vick, if that's Lamar Jackson that's scrambling for 15 yards deep box, I can live with that. Man, that's Geno. Man, Geno's a statue, and y'all let Geno run for a 12, 15-yard touchdown with 12 seconds on the clock. For me, the 49ers, they had this game. They should have put it away a lot earlier. What they did, they let them hang around, and Geno took off on them. And for me, it was the Seahawks.
I think I got to go with the Bengals and their loss against the Chargers. The Chargers are a good team, but they are a little bit ahead of schedule. They don't have the weapons, I think, or the defense consistency and the big players on defense to knock out a team like the Bengals. And it's most disappointing for the Bengals because this is really destroying their hopes of getting to the playoffs and wasting their last season where they're going to have Higgins and Chase at the same time. And right now, Joe Burrow is playing as well as any quarterback in football, and you expect that this could be a year where they could make a run for a championship. Not if they don't make it in the playoffs. And it's week after week, this team shows that they're competitive, shows that they can compete with the best teams in football, and then somehow find a way to lose at the end. It's so disappointing that T. Higgins' what looks like it's going to be T. Higgins' final year in Cincinnati is going to end with them missing the playoffs, and they are going to be in a tough spot. They're going to pay Chase, they're going to pay Burrow, they're still going to have a bunch of issues on defense, and this feels like it's going to be time to rebuild this team if they don't make a shot at the playoffs this year.
Well, I get where you're coming from, but the reason I disagree with you about the Bengals, Dom, is because the Bengals defense has been suspect all year long, and I have personally called for an investigation into Zach Taylor and his coaching staff because I want to know what the hell they're doing in the offseason that they can't win games in the month of September. Every single September, they put themselves behind the 8 ball in the Zach Taylor era. They can't win games in the month of September. It's just ridiculous. Every single year, that is the problem. So I look at that as being something that just basically this year became a bit insurmountable. In the case of Shannon with Seattle, yeah, I get where you're coming from, but Brandon Ayuk is not there. Christian McCaffrey just got back. They're trying to figure things out. I'm sorry, the 49ers, I apologize. You're just looking at the 49ers in terms of Christian McCaffrey and Brandon Ayuk and those guys and how they've been struggling. They got to figure things out. I just think that Shannon is just, he just seems a bit allergic, Dom, to just highlighting some of the stuff with the Ravens. I don't understand how the Ravens are not the answer to this question. Shannon's not getting away with that. I know you play for them too, Dom, but damn it, the bottom line is this. When you look at the Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson, leading candidate for league MVP, rolls into Pittsburgh. He's got 2 Achilles heels. One is Patrick Mahomes, who he's 1-5 against, and the other is the Steelers, who he was 1-3 against, and now he's 1-4 against. So you pass for a measly 205 yards or so. You complete 48% of your passes. You certainly was a shell of yourself. Monken, for some reason, he isn't listening to Shannon, who says, give Derrick Henry the damn football, let him run. You're just going to give him 13 carries, and that's it. You're looking at the Baltimore Ravens. You're supposed to be a superior team. Everything that you have in place, you had coming into the season, we knew Likely was going to be there. We knew Andrews was going to be there. We knew Derrick Henry was going to be there. Okay, we knew Lamar Jackson was going to be there. We knew John Harbaugh was going to be there. We're looking at all of this stuff. And even though their defense has been suspect, in the end, they held the Steelers to 6 field goals. 6 field goals. 6 field goals. You can't overcome 6 field goals? You Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry and the Baltimore Ravens, and you're supposed to be, other than the biggest threat to the Kansas City Chiefs, and you can't overcome 6 field goals? Oh, with the division lead on the line, you're now a game and a half back of the Pittsburgh Steelers? Nah, man. Ravens answer to this question. But
Stephen A., you say you're disappointed. When has Lamar Jackson ever overcome the Pittsburgh Steelers? Even when they weren't what they are currently. They've had lesser tier quarterbacks than Russell Wilson. They've had lesser tier guys on the offensive side than what they have now. And he still haven't been able to beat them but once.